Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the Playmates Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Classic Collection Rocksteady. Side of the package, inspired by the original TMNT animated series of 1988. This is a fully articulated figure. It comes with some accessories, some of which that you probably will remember from the original toy. Spot actually had to pick these up on eBay. Sadly, they were not available in any local retail. But very, very excited to get this opened up. Down below are the four turtles. You know their names. If you don't know their names, you probably aren't really enjoying this review already. Who are the Ninja Turtles? Oh, the hate would ensue. Oh, so much hate. I also like the fact, and I've already indicated, I'm sure, this before, but the packaging on the top there says sewer, city sewer. And it actually looks like a manhole cover, which I like. On the back of the package, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are back like never before in collector quality figures, featuring signature weapons and classic sewer cover bases. These perfect old school cartoon recreations will leave you screaming cowabunga. About the Turtles, catapulted from indie comic origins from superstardom by the original Murakami Wolf Swenson MWS animated series. TMNT ran on air for nearly a decade, from 1987 to 1996, and ranked #1 in ratings for an unprecedented 5 straight years. About Bebop and Rocksteady characters, after Shredder's defeat by the Turtles, Shredder and Krang devised 2 mutagen experiments that will destroy the Turtles. Bebop and Rocksteady, originally street thugs, volunteered for the experiments, as a result gained superior fighting abilities. The experiments transformed Bebop into a fearless mutant warhog and Rocksteady into a ferocious mutant rhino, hungry for revenge. The Turtles better watch out for these mutants. You can all be on the lookout for other classic collection Turtles, featuring the other 4 Turtles that we've already had a look at, as well as the other mutant available at Bebop. To check out more, you can go to www.playmatetoys.com. Having said that, Spot's going to take himself a break. I'm going to get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the mutant Rocksteady. Say your prayers, Toidles. Say your prayers. More heading your way, guys. Stay tuned. Included with all the classic Turtles, you get yourself a sewer manhole cover featuring the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles font, logo on the top there. Down below it says Rocksteady. A point I probably also already made when I did the initial Turtles reviews. Even though I appreciate the fact that they put Rocksteady down below, I would be fine even if this was just a generic manhole cover, even if it just said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So, my reasoning behind that is if you lost one manhole cover, you could really use the same one for any of the Turtles. You wouldn't necessarily have to worry that if you're putting Leonardo on here, that it would say Rocksteady down below. That's an added point. It's not even probably completely relevant, but it's not something that necessarily had to be added, but there you go. Moving that aside, weapons you get with Rocksteady. You get yourself a small sword or a large knife, your decision. Looks like a small sword. And actually, in fact, both accessories, as far as I know, came with the initial Rocksteady toy. Even complete with this original rifle. Very generic in color, there's no real added paint to it, but it harks back to the original classic toy. So I like that. I like the fact that it's just one singular color. It really makes me think of the original classic toy. One other thing that comes with Rocksteady is a helmet. Now currently I don't have them featured with the helmets, but it's easy to snap on. In fact, let's bring the camera in a little bit. Just a little bit. You can take it and put the helmet onto Rocksteady. It doesn't actually sit on there. It actually just sits over his ears. So the hat will fall off. The helmet will fall off. I would have even been fine if the helmet had been permanently on Rocksteady. But I like the fact that you can take it off too. That's a nice added touch. As a whole, he's a really good looking toy. I suppose the one argument that probably most people are having with these pieces is, where do you stop on it being a cartoon toy, and where do you begin being a classic Ninja Turtle toy? Now, if I'm looking at it from a classic toy, this is an update, a very nice, rewarding update to the original Rocksteady toy. I wish Spot still had his collection of old vintage Ninja Turtles. I had them all. Even, Rocksteady Bebop, I had, I think, 4 or 5 foot soldiers. That was one of the first army building figures that I bought. Unfortunately, I gave them away. I think I sold them at a garage sale. Kind of wish I had still kept it, but I got to say that this is a nice updated take on those original Ninja Turtle toys. The problem for me comes, though, is, do you accept them as being updated vintage toys, or do you look at them again as cartoon toys? Because if you look at them from cartoon toys, they're not quite resembling what they look like in the cartoon. In the cartoon, they were a little goofier, a little sillier in animated treatment. Versus this Rocksteady here is a much more realistic sculpt, if I could say that. He's done extremely well, but again, I think it's an in-between figure. It's not quite cartoon, and it's not quite classic toy. Whether it works as being a middle, that is debatable. Scale comparison. One of the things that people have also commented on too is the size of Bebop and Rocksteady. Bring in Leonardo, you can see that they are a little bit smaller, give or take. They're a little bit smaller than the classic Turtles. I would have preferred if they were just a slight hair bit taller, even to about there. They didn't have to be, gargantuan, but maybe even to right about there would have been a nice scale. But he is just a tad shorter. I mean, if I take the hat off, you can see he's just a tad shorter than Leonardo. Leonardo is still my favorite from, I think, the classic Turtle line. I love this toy. Articulation-wise, he's definitely still got all the articulation. A very nice blend of new articulation to these pieces. Whereas the original classic toys had just simply swiveled pieces. A lot of these newer toys not only have hinges, but also ball sockets. Articulation on Rocksteady, his head rotates back and forth, up and down via a ball joint. But you're not really going to be able to move his head back too much. You can see where the neck kind of stops the head from being brought any further back than what he's doing right now. You can bring his head down, but that's about as far up as it's going to go. His arms, you can see, are on a hinged swivel. Right there, there's a ball socket with this swivel hinge, which will allow the arms to move out and forward and back. He has a rotation in the bicep, a double bend in the elbow, which is also really a nice treat, especially if you're going to take like his gun and put it in his arm. You can get a really nice bend to that arm, whereas if it was just strictly a single bend, let's see if we can do just a single bend. Single bend, you're going to get to about there, but having the double bend, you're going to get a full awesome pose with Rocksteady. Also, he has a swivel and hinge in the hand, so you can move that hand quite easily back and forth and rotate it. His upper torso is on a ball joint, so it rotates all the way around, certainly right and left. He has no articulation in the waist. A lot of it is relying on the upper ball joint in the torso to do most of the majority of the articulation. His legs go forward, back, out. No real swivel necessarily in the thigh. The swivel is mostly in the upper socket of the leg. So the leg does rotate, but it rotates up here rather than down here. He does have a double bend in the knee. He has a rotation in the boot. And this is the one thing that I wish he did have. While he does have good articulation in the leg with the knees and everything else, if only he had had articulation in the foot. I'm surprised that they actually cut it out, because even if you look at the original Ninja Turtles, now the Turtles had a lot more, certainly, while they did have the hinge in the foot, they also had the bend in the toe. I'm not to say that they would necessarily need to have a bend in the toe, but at least if they had had a bend in the foot to some possibility, then you could kind of have him leaning a little more forward. Because I find Rocksteady, at least Rocksteady, he's a little harder to pose. It's not to say he's going to fall over. Well, he is going to fall over here, but it's not to say that posing him in a certain position, you're not going to get him to stand. But by having a little bit of an extra crease or a little extra fold in the foot, you could have actually bent the foot just a little bit more and had a little more going on, a little more flexibility with what you wanted to do down here. I'm happy with the toy. For me, the hardest part is kind of the same thing that I had the problems with the original Turtles. I love these Turtles, but I kind of wish that they had all been the same color. I feel like Playmates is trying too hard to be both properties, and while I think it worked with the Turtles, I kind of wish the Turtles had been all the same color, just to match that of the cartoon. I like that this is an updated take of the original vintage toy line. Please don't confuse the fact that Spot's thinking that this toy is disappointing because it doesn't look like the cartoon. This is kind of like Playmates' version of the Masters of the Universe Classics. It's an updated take on the original line, not so much of the cartoon property. This is a great update to the original classic toy. I think, if anything, I kind of wished that the face was just slightly a little more cartoon. But that takes nothing away from the fact that this is a great figure. Could have been a little bit taller, yes. Could have had the articulation in the boot. But still a pretty good figure overall. The Classics Rocksteady, I'm going to give him an 8.5. Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the Playmates Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Classic Series Rocksteady. And certainly stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have the review of Bebop right around the corner. Thanks for watching. See you next time.